Blueprints in Arc Raiders have changed. In the recent update, you may have noticed it seems harder to find blueprints. The best way to figure that out is just to compare last patch till today. Remember when we would find patina blueprints absolutely everywhere? Yeah, that's not happening anymore. And the way blueprints are dropping has seemed to change in some way. So today, I want to share my guide and experience on finding blueprints more often. As I go into this video, I think it's important to note that blueprints are rare. They just are. Finding the blueprint that you want might take a lot of time and luck. But we can make it easier and increase your chances of finding blueprint by following the right locations and, more importantly, the right map events. I also think there's more to blueprint spawns than we are aware of. So I'd really like to ask for some help here. I've created a Google form in the pinned comment and description. If you can use that and type in the data for the last blueprint that you found, the map condition, and also the specific container that you found it in. If we get a lot of data together, we can figure out the loot pools for each specific map, event, and potential area or container. This is important because if you ask anybody where they found their snap hook blueprint, 90% of people are going to say they found it in the storm event. Some people have found it in other places, but the vast majority of people have found it in a storm event. I've asked over 100 people at this point during my live stream. The most amount of people have found it for a storm, me included. So this really kind of suggests that there are different loot pools for different map events and potentially different maps. Another example here, which is a bit more anecdotal, I've only ever found augment blueprints on Bluegate. That might just be a coincidence though. So I would really hope that you could all take the time to input the data into this form. We'll try to get as many inputs as possible to get a real accurate look, or as close to as possible accurate look at the data of where each blueprint spawns, what particular map condition or map event. When it comes to trying to find as many blueprints as possible, there are some ways that seem to be more effective. Firstly, night raids and electromagnetic storm raids do seem to have a far higher chance of dropping blueprints right now. Not only that, but locked rooms, specifically those behind breachable doors or key rooms, now have a far higher chance of dropping blueprints right now. This has been from my experience. I've been looting tons since the start of Arc Raiders up until today, and I've noticed these changes quite considerably. You're going to have more luck in night raids, electromagnetic storm events, behind locked doors, especially behind locked doors during night raids, and that will definitely point you in the right direction. Now, some people feel like they're finding certain blueprints in certain container types, and that could certainly be true, but we don't have enough data yet to 100% back it up. I think it's more likely that certain loot zones might have a different loot pool, and some loot zones might have more blueprints. A good example of this is the Plaza Rosa building in Buried City. I've had countless people tell me they found so many blueprints in here, and I've also found countless blueprints in here as well. It is a locked door, basically, like you're supposed to breach through it to get inside at the bottom, so that does kind of make sense. I've also had a lot of people tell me they found a large number of blueprints in the reinforced reception underground area in Bluegate, both in the breachable room down there and the puzzle room that requires you to open it with 3 fuel cells. Once again, a bit more anecdotal, but it does seem to suggest that certain areas might have separate loot pools that can increase your chance for looting blueprints. However, when you load into a map, if you're looking for blueprints, then you're probably going to be picking a night raid or a storm raid, right? Well, everyone else is probably doing the same. So if you spawn in, and you're lucky enough to spawn it at the start of a raid, your best bet is probably just to run to whatever place has the most lootable containers near you. Whether or not that is a apartment building or a residential complex or just any other lootable area on the map, run towards the place that has the highest density of loot containers possible and loot everything from drawers to lockers to bins, which strangely seem to have a very high chance for blueprints as well. Loot everything you can. Minimize the amount of time spending running across the map, because by the time you get to the other side of the map, that part's probably already been looted, and maximize the amount of time you're spending looting containers. Truth is, blueprints are rare, and most containers do have a chance of dropping blueprints. So yes, whilst there are certain events, or maybe certain areas or containers that might increase the chances, at the end of the day, it's still a low chance. So boost up the amount of containers you're looting. It might feel like you go days without finding any blueprints whatsoever, and then suddenly you find 3 blueprints in a single raid like I did in this raid here. The truth is, it's all about chance and probability. So the more you loot, the better your odds. But with that being said, I want to share some of my own anecdotal experiences and theories that we don't have the data on yet. And I hope that with the data behind us, if we all come together and fill in this form, we will get down to the bottom of exactly where blueprints spawn more often and which specific map events have different blueprints. I personally find a lot more blueprints in certain containers. I also see a lot of stories of people finding blueprints in bins, whether it's a trash can, a recycling bin, any kind of trash container, for some reason has a high blueprint chance. Now that could just be me. Maybe it's not true, but it seems to be that could be a chance. I've also had a massive number of blueprints found inside black boxes. They can be found on Stella Montis and Bluegate, and I've found blueprints in both maps, both Bluegate and Stella Montis. And once again, this is only anecdotal, so it's hard to say whether or not there is a higher chance for blueprints in these or not, but they do drop there. I also want to give some more attention to surveyors. I've now had the experience to kill probably around 20 to 30 surveyors since I last discovered that they have blueprint drops. In my experience, every 5 to 6 surveyor kills, I'm getting a blueprint, and they usually end up being pretty rare ones. If you're struggling to find some of the rarer blueprints, your best bet might be to try and hunt down surveyors. They've also changed the AI pathing of the surveyors. They don't run away as fast anymore, and they're a lot easier to hunt down. For me personally, I've only found blueprints in the main core, the main brain piece, but some people in my chat have said that they have found blueprints inside the smaller pieces as well. So it's probably worth looting all of the pieces of the surveyor, although it seems there's a higher chance to get it from the main brain, which you'll get only once you've destroyed the surveyor. I found Osprey blueprints, I found the Vita Spray blueprint, I found the Shotgun Mag 3 blueprint, and also some weird things like glow stick blueprints, which, you know, aren't so great. Now, from my experience, maybe I've been pretty lucky. It seems to be about every 5 to 6 surveyor kills I'm getting a blueprint, but some people told me they've killed like 10 and never found it. So it just goes to show once again, there's a lot of probability and luck involved. We don't know the drop rate of blueprints. It's obviously quite low. So if you're struggling to find them, make sure you're reading up in a night raid or a storm raid, loot as many containers as humanly possible, and try to loot behind locked doors and key rooms as well. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, let me know, and yeah, please consider filling out this form, and if we get a lot of replies, then I'll do an updated video in a week's time showing the results to see exactly where people are getting their blueprints. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the comments. Cheerio.